Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
How are you?
Good.
Great.
You have to hold up the wall, huh? Yeah, my name's Marilyn Angelucci, and it's very, very nice to be here. Actually, thanks to the music, Mr. Honeycutt, he had me crying. Yeah, you know, also Stephanie mentioned that from Sunday to Sunday is too long, that you want to be together. Well, there's some people in the world that have no Sunday service. They have no community at all. But they keep their faith and they keep going. I love to come to America because I can come to these churches and see our brothers and sisters, but this is a very rare experience for me. To hear the beautiful music, to hear people singing holy songs together, to be able to pray in the name of our true parents. So I really hope that you understand how special your situation is and how blessed you are to live in America, to have a church, to be able to meet together with like-minded people, and to be able to really, experience this. The culture of heart. You know, it may not be enough. It may not be what our true parents are expecting, but you have something. You have brothers and sisters. Joshua wasn't too sure, but he was right when he said we left America when he was born. He was 6 weeks old, and my husband's Italian, so we went to Italy, actually to do home church. That's, you know, it was around the time when Father told us to go to our hometown. So we thought, you know, let's go to Italy and see what we can do. It was very difficult. And after 2 years, after my second boy was born, we decided to take a public mission. And we went to Romania. They asked a blessed couple to come and to help with the mission in Romania. So we went there, and maybe 6 months after we were there, the national leader decided he wanted to go home, so we became the national leader. No experience, nothing, couldn't even teach divine principle. My husband had never given a sermon before. So we became very close. I had graduated from the seminary, and we just coached each other. But it was an amazing experience because at that time, Europe had a very good leader, and they were doing a lot of good work, and we could get members. It was so inspiring. The young people were coming. The communism had stopped about 5 years before. The Orthodox Church was so weak. The kids were looking for religion, looking for something, so they came, just like in Russia, right? The same kind of spirit at that time. So it was very exciting. We got some confidence. And then Father announced National Messiah. So we went to the National Messiah workshop, and everybody was receiving their countries, like some of you, I know. And maybe you remember, but Father, somebody was up there announcing the countries, and they said our name, Angelucci, and then they said Afghanistan. And the whole crowd just went, oh, you know. And people started coming up to us. At that time, they were passing out copies from an encyclopedia or something about each country, because many of us didn't even know where our countries were. We didn't know, you know. Kyrgyzstan, is that where? Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, Afghanistan, where are these places, right? So, anyways, but in our hearts, we felt very deeply that God trusts us. This was our initial response, was not fear, maybe because of ignorance, we didn't understand, but we felt God really trusts us. So in 1996, we went to Afghanistan with 2 little kids. I don't know, 96, how old were you, 5? No, 4, 5. And Young was 4. Toting our little kids, we went to Afghanistan. The Taliban were occupying Kabul at the time, and so we went to the north. Well, after we were there about 8 months, the Taliban invaded that city in the north, and the women and children had to be evacuated by the UN and my husband stayed during the attack. And anyways, maybe sometime I'll have a chance to tell you our more detailed testimony, but we had to leave at that time. It was a devastating battle. Thousands of people were killed. And okay, I wasn't going to say this, but I think I should. After that battle, my husband was still there. I had left. I went to Pakistan and then India with the kids. But he was still there because he couldn't get out. And there were a few Japanese sisters with him. And a friend of ours who was in charge of security for that city came to visit us afterwards. And he told us that he had visited the prison and there were 700 Taliban soldiers who had been captured. And they were all telling the same story. And we said, well, what's the story? He said, they all had a vision. And that's why they stopped fighting, because they had a vision. And we said, okay, what was the vision? They said they all had a vision of a young man, young Oriental man, riding a white horse, chasing the Taliban soldiers. We said, oh, that's weird. A young Oriental man riding a white horse, chasing them out of the city. And then they surrendered, because actually, Muslims are very spiritual. Even though they say they don't believe in the spiritual world, they believe in ghosts and angels and all this kind of things. So they were really petrified by this vision. Well, after that, my husband came to India, we settled in India, the Japanese sisters went back to Japan, and some of them called the original missionary, who was also Shigehiro-san. He was also Japanese, and they told him about this story. And he said, that's amazing. Because when the Russians invaded Afghanistan, he and his wife and their children were there. And his wife prayed and asked God, what should we do? And she had a vision of Hunjinim, who's in the spiritual world now. And Hunjinim was on a white horse. And he said to her, don't worry, I will protect your country. You can go. So Hunjinim was still protecting us, so that we were not hurt or had any problem. The local people won that battle against the Taliban, and we realized that God is really with us when we put ourselves, when we go through the difficulties that are facing us. So, yeah, we left Afghanistan at that time, went to India. We spent 7 years in India. The kids went to elementary school in India, learned all about Hinduism and Islam and all the different religions. India is an amazing place. And then in 2005, we came back to Afghanistan. They were in GOP at the time. No, you went to GOP 3, 4? Anyways, they came back after going to GOP. So India, Korea, and then Afghanistan. My kids are awesome. Sorry, maybe I'm a little prejudiced. But, going through this kind of life, they have some amazing experiences. So, yeah. So we went back to Afghanistan. They went to high school in Afghanistan. And here we are alone. Just us. First of all, it was just me and my husband, because they were still in Korea. And we didn't know what to do. What are we going to do? So we started we started doing UPF work and inviting people to UPF conferences, small conferences. We'd give lunch, they'd come, we'd spend lots of money. People were coming, they were very interested in our vision. We always gave a good lecture or something. But then these people were, how can I say? We used to have meetings, and one of them brought out the fact that we believe Father's a Messiah. Not Messiah. They said, these people believe that their founder is a prophet. Well, half of the people stood up and said, no, there is no prophet besides Muhammad. Muhammad is the only prophet. If you believe in another prophet, then I can't have anything to do with UPF. So our whole foundation for UPF was completely destroyed, because the main man was the assistant minister of culture, the deputy minister of culture. So, he would speak about us and he'd say something about us. So our whole foundation was ruined. Anyway, somehow we were able to keep some good contacts, and to make a long story short, we started witnessing to young people, giving the IEF material, the character education lectures, and inviting them to our center as UPF, a UPF center. We realized we have to teach them more, but we didn't know, we couldn't teach divine principle. We can't talk about church. We can't talk about true parents, you know, Messiah. All this stuff is taboo. So what do you do? How do you develop? Where do you go? I'm telling you this story because we were able to get, at the end of our time in Afghanistan, 33 members of the unification movement in Afghanistan. So, but we just had to find the way. So what we started to do, we would go to English language centers where the kids were studying English. We would teach character education, purpose of a meaningful life, conflict resolution, these lectures, and then invite them to our center. When they came to our center, we would have what they called Friday meetings. The Friday meetings were Sunday service. But what it was we would sit around and read world scriptures, and especially emphasize the Muslim quotes, and discuss about this. So, and then we would invite these people to come to what we call a 2-day workshop. Now, I had to figure out what can we teach them. So we took some lectures from CARP, and we started teaching some concepts of divine principle, give and take action, growth, spirit world, portion of responsibility. We started teaching them some concepts from divine principle. And then it was very necessary for us to make a very deep relationship with them. So we would have them do service projects together. We'd go out cleaning the streets, planting trees, giving food to the poor, collecting old clothes and giving them to the refugees. So we had the kids doing many, many projects in the name of UPF. And after we were sure and confident that they were prepared, then we invited them to what we call 5-day workshop, or 5-day seminar on peace. This taught chapter 1, the fall of man, indemnity, Father's life, our movement, and the fact that Father was the King of Peace. After this, we asked them to sign Unification Movement membership. This was really an amazing experience because we had made such a deep relationship with these boys. Of course, only boys. It was very hard to bring girls. They were so happy to be a unificationist Muslim, to become part of this unification movement, a worldwide movement that's actually working for peace, centered on the principles, the universal principles that all religions can believe in. We even had some older people that were still with us that wanted to study pure divine principle. Now, we were very, very careful about this, but we did have a translation in the local language, so we let this one guy read it, and he told us, you know, I can understand the Quran much better now that I've studied divine principles. It really clarifies many, many things in the Quran that I didn't understand before. So recently I was able to go to Afghanistan, and I gave the holy wine to some of these members. So after we were there, actually 5 years straight, but we had been there over 7 years going back and forth, we were called to go to the Philippines. Now, this was very difficult for us. Actually, we were called many times to go to the Philippines by our continental director. And we said no, because we have to make a foundation in Afghanistan. If we leave now, we'll lose everything. So, you know, we prayed, and then we told him, no, we're not going, we won't go, we won't go. Finally, we told him, okay, give us 1 year to find a central figure. So we were able to raise up one brother, and we went to the Philippines. Well, we thought we were leaving Afghanistan, but actually this gave us a really wonderful platform on which to educate our members. We were able to bring 7 of our core people from Afghanistan to the Philippines, and they studied 21-day workshop. And then after that, 4 of them came to our college, where my husband and I were the vice presidents, and they attended the college, and they were graduating in March. And one of them now has been assigned as the national leader of Afghanistan.
Wow.
So imagine, we went there the first time in 1996, and in 2017, we're finally going to have a national leader. Someone who is deeply connected to true parents. He went to Korea for 1 year, studied Korean. He was in our, our movement in the Philippines for 4 years, 1 year in Korea. And so he's a solid brainwashed Moonie. So he's going back to Afghanistan to bring the tradition of our true parents. So, it ain't easy. We go to these places, and maybe sometimes we may think that Raleigh and Durham and Cary or whatever the other triangle city is. What's the third city? Chapel Hill. Is like Afghanistan. Maybe we feel it's impossible to witness. I can't mention Reverend Moon because they're going to persecute me, or they're going to reject me, or, whatever. Or I don't know how to talk about the principle. I don't know how to explain. I think this is our biggest problem. We don't know the principle well enough because we don't do Hunduke. Anyways, I feel I just want to help you to understand that, like Josh said, if we don't give up, something is going to break. Something is going to, open up. We don't know what spirit world we're dealing with and what's going on. But our responsibility is to just keep going. And then we were in the Philippines for 4 years, and then suddenly we came to America to attend my second boy's blessing. He was blessed 2 years ago in Columbus, Ohio. So my husband and I were here together for like the first time forever. For the first time. And suddenly we got a phone call. I'm telling you, this is my life. We got a phone call that he had to go to Korea. The true mother wanted to meet him. Like 2 days before the blessing, I really had to control myself because, of course, I was disappointed, but how much more my son was disappointed. Anyways, they had a very, very good talk. They cried together. And my younger boy could understand, and my husband left, and he found out that he had been assigned as regional director for the Middle East, or continental director for the Middle East. So we were very, very proud because, once again, God trusts us. Maybe I'll speak a little honestly, and I think you can understand. There are some people in our movement of a certain nationality that have been leaders for a long, long time. And sometimes they don't really make a very artistic relationship with our brothers and sisters. And many people went as leaders of the Middle East thinking it's a punishment. When you do something wrong, Mother assigns you to the Middle East. When you are getting punished for not bringing results someplace, you get assigned to the Middle East. Imagine going to a mission with that kind of attitude. But for my husband and I, we felt so privileged because we felt we broke through in Afghanistan, and now Mother trusts us that we can do something in the Middle East. So we're so happy. I always call my life a magic carpet ride, and now I'm going to Aladdin's land, right? My magic carpet ride, where I've had the wonderful blessing to, of course, live in Turkey. Turkey's a wonderful place. Putting aside the political situation right now, which is very, very delicate for us especially, which is really a shame because we had a lot of hope for Turkey, but now we can't really do anything publicly in Turkey because Erdogan is really watching everyone. But Lebanon is an awesome place. Israel, we have an amazing foundation in Israel, many blessed couples, many members, and they're really trying to break through witnessing. It's not easy, but they're really making a lot of effort every day going out on the university, Hebrew University. Actually, Joshua's good friend is there with his parents and his wife, and he's the CARP leader, and they're working very hard. We have a wonderful sister in Jordan We always did Women's Federation work in Jordan. There's no other blessed couples besides her, but Egypt has blessed couples, Morocco, Tunisia, Cyprus, Iran. Iran has 40 blessed couples, but unfortunately they're underground because the government has banned our movement. Our members have been in prison, but they do Sunday service by Skype. Every Sunday they get together on Skype and they listen to God's words, and they have all the speeches translated into their language, Farsi, and Divine Principle translated. So we're trying to get things going, to make a system, to make a pattern, to help them to understand. We've recently translated the character education material into Arabic, and they're teaching that in Jordan. So not most excitingly, but recently we had a conference in Cyprus. And the National Messiah for Syria is the General Secretary for UPF, David Fraser Harris. And he's one of our key people. The people in the Middle East are awesome. Really, we have these gems, these amazing gems. Japanese brothers and sisters that went out in '74 as missionaries are still there, still working, doing amazing things, complete experts. They speak Arabic, they know everything about the Middle East. They're awesome people, some working as journalists, some working as Blessed Family Department leaders, many wonderful people. So David, who had been in Syria for 15 years and had to leave because of the war, all his children speak Arabic, inspired us to do a conference on Syria. So we held a conference recently supported by UPF. True Mother is very, very supportive of the Middle East. Almost everything we propose, she's done. She supported a second-gen workshop last summer. She wants us to do it again this summer for all the second-gen in the Middle East. We did it in Turkey. That was interesting. Anyway, I have a lot of stories. Maybe someday we can have a small group and I can tell some more stories, but we need to tell our stories. We all have many, many stories, right? And we need to really share deeply with each other about our stories of faith, right? So I want to tell you about this conference in Syria. It was in Cyprus. We had about 40 people. And the interesting thing was we had many Syrians and some that were sent by Assad's government. People from the Ministry of Reconciliation came from inside. Their current members of the Ministry of Reconciliation came to our conference to represent Assad's government. And also people from the opposition who have left Syria. And yes.
How long ago was this?
This was
a month ago.
December 17th to 20th.
That's recent. Oh,
yeah. It was really awesome.
That's amazing.
It's and then we had European experts. UPF in Europe have some amazing contacts that are very, very close. I mean, they know Divine Principle, they understand everything. Yeah, they're really good people. So we had about 5 or 6 of them, some from the UN, some from independent think tanks, many people that wrote books on the Middle East. But the most exciting thing was that we had people from the government in Syria that everyone is complaining about, for those of you that don't know the Syria situation, and those that are against that government, that have been kicked out of the country, that have been banned from going back to Syria. These people sat around the same table, about 40, and we dialogued, we discussed, we came up with recommendations. I mean, many of them had their own recommendations already. Everybody listened. There was such an amazing atmosphere because of our true parents of listening and understanding and loving each other and bringing peace right there at that table. This is the greatness of our true parents. We don't have political solutions. We don't know exactly what will work to bring peace in Syria, but we know that through give and take action, God's Holy Spirit can come down and touch the hearts of each person. They talked respectfully, peacefully, and we made a resolution, and basically